Hi guys, this is Vishal here from DrapCode. So in this video, we will understand how to make an REST API call from DrapCode and store the response in browser session, right? So after that, you can use it for different purposes. Like you can display it on the UI, you can store it in database, or you can basically use that response as a request for another API, right? So all those things we'll cover in other videos, but in this video, we will just see how to make an API call and store the browser, whatever the response is coming from that API in the browser session so that you can reuse it for different use cases. So in this video, we are going to use Zeno. We have a collection called project and it has a couple of fields like name, description, status in Zeno. And this is the REST API to create a new project. So what we'll do, we'll just make an API call to basically, let's say add project. We'll just create a project. So we'll pass these three parameters. And in response, whatever the response is coming, we will just store it in the browser session and probably will just display on the page, right? How it looks like. So let's see how this can be done. I'll go back to DrapCode and here I'll create an external API. Okay. So I'll say create project on Zeno. That's all. It's a post call. So let me see. It's a post call, so we'll copy the URL. Okay, since the API is not secured as of now, we have kept it open, so I'll not pass any headers, but otherwise you can pass the access token or bearer token, whatever it is, right? So I'll just send data from collection. So we will be sending the collection from project. So we will create a project, store it in DrapCode database, and then pass it to Zeno. Okay, you can also use a non-persistent collection where you can pass directly from form to Zeno when you're using DrapCode as a front-end builder, or you can pass as a raw JSON. There are several other ways which we have already covered in other videos. So here we will just use the data which is getting stored in DrapCode and then getting pushed to Zeno. So I'll say default JSON and these are the fields, right? So we'll just pass name, which will come from the collection name. We'll pass description, which will come from the stored data of that collection description, and then the status. Okay, and I'll say status. That's all. We're not going to process the response because we don't want to do anything. We are just sending the data to Zeno. That's all. So now let's go and create an event. I'll say add event. It's a very simple event. Create project on Zeno. Okay, and I'll say in the collection save data. So we are saying just save data in project. Okay, I'll say saved error. Okay, and now I'll make an API call. So here in external API, we'll just say send data to external API. So this will call the Zeno API, right? And say, let's say called Zeno. Now we want to save the response in browser session. So we will check this checkbox, save API response in browser session. So this is advanced option. When the data is coming and you want to store it at some key, we will cover it later. For now, I'll just say store it in browser session and I'll just save, right? So this is when we are saying whatever the response is coming from API, store it in browser session and I'll show you how it looks like. Okay. Now we'll go to the page and then just bind this event. So go to page and just bind this event. So I'll go to the collection form and then just bind this event, which is create project on Zeno, right? So this collection form is getting generated from the collection project which we have in DrapCode. So this is the project collection. So it has a couple of fields. So it is just name, description, status. That is what we are interested in. Okay. So this is how the collection look like: name, status, priority, some description, and now I'll save it, preview. So session is basically something which gets stored in the browser. So I'll just inspect element. Okay, and I'll show you whether it gets stored. So it gets stored either in local storage or in session storage. Okay, so as of now, both of these are blank. So let me just create some data. I'll say project 8. Or let's say just 8, some description, test 8, status test 8, priority, anything, date, anything. Okay, so now we are just sending this data to Zeno. Let's go and see how Zeno looks like currently. So there are a couple of records. Okay, maybe just delete these records so that we can see fresh. So now it has only 2 records. Okay, now we'll submit this form. It will save the data in DrapCode and then push to Zeno, and whatever the response will come from Zeno, we will just store it in the browser session. So it has made a call. First it saved to database, then it will send to Zeno, called Zeno. Okay, so if I come to DrapCode database, there should be 1 record. This is the one. Let's go to Zeno. So record number 10 got created. Some created at date, which these 2 fields were given by Zeno. These 3 which we sent from the form. So now let's go back to DrapCode. Go to the application and see. Okay, so now if you can see in the session storage, so this is the session storage inside application. This is the response, right? So let me just enlarge it. So this is the response which is coming from Zeno. Description, name, status, created at, and ID. Okay, so this is the data is getting stored. Now if you want to use this data for some purpose, maybe we want to send this data to another API. This is something which we'll cover in the next video, but for now let's just display this data. Whatever the data Zeno ID getting created, let's just display the data here. Okay, so I'll go to my page and let's drop component. Let's say heading, say Zeno ID, and maybe another component. Now here I'll say bring data from browser session. So this is the option which we will use, right? Get value from browser session. What is the name of that field? It is I think it is getting stored with the name ID. Okay, this we can check right away. So it is getting stored as ID, and let's say also created at, which is created underscore at. Okay, so ID, I'll just say ID. Okay, and then probably created at Zeno, another field which is again dynamically I am saying get value from browser session. Why we are able to use it? Because it is getting stored in browser session and we can actually read it from there. So I'll say created at. Okay, and these fields you can use in other APIs, other forms, hidden fields, like however you want to use. Okay, so I'll just add some padding on the top, or margin to the top. Let's say 100 pixel. That's all. Now let's reload the page. I'll just close this. Let's reload the page. So this should display that 999, that 10 and the ID which Zeno is providing. Let's create one more record. Okay, so before that I'll go to the event and just reload the page so that it shows the latest data, otherwise it will not refresh, right? So I'll say when the data in Zeno gets created, probably just reload the page. Okay, otherwise the value will still get changed in the browser session, but you will not see on the page, right? So I'll just upload it, reload it. So let's create one more record. I'll just first reload this page so that whatever changes we have done in the event get reflected here. So I'll say project 9 test 9 test. Okay, so as of now these are the values in the session, so it is displaying this. Now let's just submit again. It will save the data, send to Zeno and reload the page. So let's go to Zeno and just reload. A new record got created, project 9 with ID 11 and some date. Okay, Zeno, when it is returning in API, it is returning the timestamp of the date. It's not returning it in MMDD like in this format which you are seeing here. So let's go back to DrapCode. So you see this is the Zeno ID and created it. If you go to inspect element application, you can actually see the data is got replaced. So Previously it was the data from the previous API. Once you made an API call again, the new data came and it just replaced the old data. So previously the ID was 10, now it is 11. This is the Zeno ID, right? In the next video, we will see how to use the response of one API as request parameter and another API. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you again in the next video. Bye bye.